My name is Tricia Bethke, and I am the Forest Pest Outreach Coordinator for the state of Illinois. And I can't tell you, like, right now I'm going to get really, really choked up because it is absolutely beautiful to see friends, colleagues, and also be smushed in between these two big giant powerhouses, Michelle and Stephanie. So I'm going to be kind of a little bit of the comic relief in between all of this. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the state of Illinois for potential and current pests that we have, right? Spoiler alert, there's nothing new. Spotted lanternfly is not here, right? And what you need to do is don't move firewood. So that's it in a nutshell. I think we got 45 minutes for that. Wouldn't that be great? All right, so we're going to have some fun. And I am going to talk to you a little bit about what's going on, not only on the pest side, but we'll give you some regulatory updates. We'll talk a little bit about the Illinois Invasive Species Council. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. So I mentioned that I am the Forest Pest Outreach Coordinator for the state of Illinois. I love to walk around and talk, so I'm like, there I am. I did that during COVID because I wanted to make sure that people were still top of mind about spotted lanternfly, right? So in August, I thought for sure somebody was going to find it because there was so much mass media going on. And I was down at the Illinois State Fair. If you want to find me, please come to the Illinois State Fair. I'm in the DNR tent 2 weeks in August. It is grueling but fun. You can have carp too, so that's a little inside tip. First weekend, yeah, it is yummy. So I do. I am federally funded. I write my own grants every single year. Thank you very much. Your taxpayers help pay for this position. So we're very fortunate. I've been at Morton Arboretum for about 15 years now. They are my cooperator, and so I'm very grateful to be here as well. So you can see the breadth of this program. We kind of, over the last 8 years, have really built it out. So now we're doing anywhere from 65 to 80 trainings a day. I mean, a day. Yes, that's what it feels like. Next! No, I mean, I'm really proud about this. I really am. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be in person with all of you as well. So we're going to look at, the impacts of this. I think this is really important because, during COVID, we had a lot of time. We were able to get some really good statistics out there. So we know that our borers, so emerald ash borer, Asian longhorn beetle, these are the costs associated with pretty recent number. Local costs are staggering, right? The federal government basically says if you get a pest and it's established and your Department of Agriculture is not doing anything, then you have to bear those costs locally. We know that because of EAB, right? We know what's going on there. And our sap feeders, they're more of a nuisance pest, and so we're talking a little bit about Asian longhorn beetle and spotted lanternfly. Those are the two pests that keep me up at night. It used to be my kids, now it's pests, but same thing, same thing. But, yeah, no, it's all right. I love my children. Yeah, I love each one of them differently, especially when they're like jockeying it out to figure out who's going to go in the home. They're like, wait, I get to pick where she goes. So anyway, just having some fun warming you guys up here. $34.7 billion are spent on forest pests. And it is a challenge. Those monies don't come to the government very easily. In Illinois, in the IRA money that's coming in, everybody says there's going to be a boatload of money coming in, and I hope for all of us that is true, right? I hope that those monies are going to come in. They're going to help us shore up the infrastructure. They're going to help us start to, or continue to, combat invasive species. So everybody, if you've been to my presentation, and I know many of you have, you've seen this, you're like, here she goes again. So right here, this is what I want to do. I want to make sure that I'm keeping you in the least amount of area, the least amount of time, and the least amount of cost. When I drop that arrow down, that's typically 5 to 7 years before we actually find a pest. And every time I say that out loud, I'm always like, surely we've got to find it before it gets well established. And COVID, 2021, South Carolina, what happened? Asian longhorn beetle, right underneath their nose, right there, in a homeowners association. It was absolutely amazing. They did an eDNA on it, And they were able to determine that population's been there about 6.5 years. So again, the need to get out and look, the need to get out and monitor our trees. If you are talking to anybody, any public landowner, manager, forest reserves, you know, the general public, get people to monitor trees. It's really good to plant trees, but you know what? In order to improve the long-term survivability, we have to be monitoring our trees. So early detection, I love this. This is so exciting. We are out using dogs now. Who has a dog? Yeah? Yeah, my husband would love you. I would love to get another dog, but we're not going to get that one quite yet. We're using early detection. So we're using early detection. We're using these dogs. We're taking an opportunity to have those dogs walk around rail yards and have them potentially spot, to sniff out any egg masses, and that's basically what they're trained to do. It has that unique scent, if you will. So the dogs are an integral part of our early detection plan, and we don't have any in Illinois. Well, we do have some at the ports, but we don't actively use them in the public. So in Illinois, high-risk pathways, this was done in 2015, and this was so we were trying to figure out, like, would spotted lanternfly get here? What is the likelihood that it would be established? So you're seeing in northern Cook County, it's all lit up in red. St. Louis is all lit up in red, and then everything in between, because we've got rail, we've got roads, we've got airports, we've got wineries, and that is a high risk, right? And as soon as we started to take a look at that, we realized that our location within the country is one that is going to be a likely pathway for potential pests. Rockford's a big, huge area for us right now. We've got all these planes coming in, we got Amazon, we got UPS, you name it. They're coming into Rockford, and what are they doing? They're landing in Rockford, they're refueling, and then they're going out to the West Coast. California is on par with spotted lanternfly. I mean, they are absolutely putting in so many different trainings, opportunities, management. I mean, you name it, they want to keep that pest out of the state, and we're working with them very closely in order to help limit the spread. So in 2012, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on. You're like, wait a minute, this is National Soil Week. What is she talking about? I think that, and Frederick Miller will say, that 80% of that tree that's failing, right, it's below ground. It's trying to figure out what's going on below ground. And so sadly, look, 2012, we all refer back to like 2012, man, that was the drought. But it wasn't 2012, it was the fall of 2011. So that was the beginning, if you will. And I've got some climate information here, something that we have to think about. We have to think about the impacts on a long-term basis. Illinois is warmer, it's wetter, and we know that, right? We're going to have these really challenging rain events that are coming up. But this oak was at the Arboretum, and it was very sad. I don't even know, are they there anymore? No. So we were looking at it, and for me, this is where you got a water deficit, you've got high heat for prolonged periods, soil compaction, and what happens? Two-line chestnut borer comes in. Bam, right there. I'm going to stand behind this. Fine twig dieback, right? Staghorn. You start to see fine twig dieback pop up right in that tree, just kind of pop up. That's that early sign that that tree is stressed. Early sign. When these oak trees get stressed, they send out a signal, and that signal attracts two-line chestnut borer. 4 or 5 years ago, I was up in Wisconsin, and they were like, oh man, I've got a big problem with like two-line chestnut borer, and I was like, nah, they don't have it. And they're like, no, I checked with a couple people. Do we have it? Not so much. We do now. We do, and Stephanie can talk about it as well. I mean, two-line chestnut borer is the closer, right? So it's going to come in and finish off a stressed tree. So we need to make sure that we're looking for those early signs and early detection. So this is some of the climate data. I plagiarized it from a presentation from the state climatologist. So I'm good at snipping pictures and putting them up here, but I wanted to give them credit. This is really fascinating, and fascinating in a really sad way. We know what's going on around us, right? We know that we're getting these really big, huge rain events, right? Anything more than 2 inches, right? In 2 inches in one day or a couple hours. I mean, take a look at this. 11 inches, Gibson City, in 3 hours. That's insane. That is insane for a ecosystem, an urban area that is going through drier soils, right? Those soils are compacted, that water gets there, and what does it do? It just sheets right off. So the tree's not able to kind of like soak it in. And so when you get this, you get these mass floodings, right? Water sitting on top of that tree, it is stressing that tree out, right? And that mulch that Michelle talked about, that mulch is now long gone, right? So we're needing to make sure that we're starting to look at some of these issues that are going on. Illinois is going to continue to have increased rain events. They are. It's just, we're in a cycle, that's what's going to happen. It's warmer, springtime temperatures, heating up. This is 2019, this is NOAA's data. Look at that trend, it's just starting to heat up. We've got warmer springtime temperatures, we've got increased humidity, we've got warmer winters. That means that those pests are gonna hang out. This is gonna be a pesky year. Put it on your radar right now. We've got a warmer winter, you're gonna see more pest damage rather than pathogen damage. That's my guess. Stephanie probably is like, what is she talking about? Then we have both pests and pathogens. Increased springtime precipitation, right? We're getting drought in the late summer. How many of you kind of feel that? You're starting to see that late summer drought. That's a stress factor for those trees. They're used to that precipitation, and then all of a sudden somebody just turns off the spigot. So again, just knowing that. This is the climatologist, that's their prediction that we'll continue wetting, particularly in the winter and the spring, and that we're predicted to have increased rainfall. It's a tough life for a tree, you all know this. You need to have the pathogen, the susceptible host, and the favorable environment. Time is that element, right? So think about that 5 to 7 years. We need to make sure that we're getting out and we're monitoring our trees in order to mitigate that. We've seen this before, y'all have seen this picture if you've been to my presentation. I see this a lot. This tree is like improperly planted. But car door opens it up, weed whacker, you name it. And that, open up that bark and that pathogen gets in and it's a tree stress. We're seeing a lot of butt rot on trees right now. And I think that that's something that, from woody decay, it's not my wheelhouse, but it is something that is of interest to me. Drought effects, this is what I love. I wish I could get I love getting close to this. Look at nitrogen concentration increases during drought. When that nitrogen goes up, who loves it? The pests do. They're like, oh my gosh, there's more stuff in here for me this droughty time. So those pests, those defoliators get in, and they can do a real number on those trees. Spongy moth, right? It used to be gypsy moth, now it's spongy moth. Spongy moth, it can get in there, it can defoliate those oak trees. It could be the 1-2 punch. It could be the beginning of the end for that tree. So it also increases leaf toughness in some of them, but it also reduces growth too. So we're looking at those drought effects. Too much water, not enough, still has the same sort of effect on that tree. Signs of tree stress, diminished leaf production, increased defoliation, and that smaller leaf size. I know you guys know that, but we're just walking through it pretty quickly. So if we're looking at those pests, those defoliators, sapsuckers, borers, and those spreaders, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Defoliation, any leaf loss, chewing stress, right? Making sure that, those trees, those sapsuckers, if you see any type of that oozing sap on that tree that shouldn't be there, you need to have that tree evaluated. Box tree moth, this is a new one. This is one that everybody's interested in, trying to figure out if we have it here, and if we do, we need to report it to the Department of Agriculture. Not established in Illinois, thankfully. 2021, the federal government put a halt in for any material coming from Canada. It was shipped to 6 states, and we were not one of them, thankfully, but Michigan's got an active population. So, Michigan is a car ride away. Wisconsin, nothing bad about our neighbors to the north, but a lot of people move material around. So again, we need to be aware of that. If you've got your boxwoods and they're looking like this, you need to make sure that you're looking on the underside of the leaf. These are egg masses. And there's not just one, there's hundreds of them. So you need to make sure that when you see signs of stress, you see signs of defoliation, get close to that plant and make sure you take a look at it. The defoliators, this is spongy moth. I talked about the nitrogen, doesn't really kill the tree. but it is really important that we see, I think I have a better picture. No, I don't. All right, so spongy moth is easy to detect. 5 blue dots and then 6 pairs of red dots. Male, female, so you've got the female is the white and the male is the brown. Looking at that, I think yep, this is in Cook County. Where's Kim? Hi. Yeah, Enchanted Forest, that's his nickname. Sounds terrible. Yeah. Yeah, this was absolutely amazing. I was called out and I met with the forester, and I was absolutely in shock. You could hear the defoliation going on. And then you felt it, and everything was just gnawed down. Look at that, I took these pictures. I mean, that is amazing. There is no understory whatsoever. Those trees were riddled with egg masses and caterpillars. Right in the back, see that green line? That's what we had to go out and delimit where it was, right? This population, people are actively in this forest preserve all the time. They knew it, I mean, they saw it. And yet the population just kind of blew up, actually. There it is. I mean, ew. But it was really cool. I have other pictures too, but I don't have, yeah, they're out great. Thankfully in Illinois. So looking at that, Frederick Miller and I talked a little bit about this. The only thing the only tree that spongy moth didn't go after was a maple, right? So the maples were the only ones that had their leaf on it. So that's an interesting fact. But that tree was able to re-leaf at the end of the summer. But that re-leafing is a really small leaf area. And so it's not going to really put a lot into that food bank for that tree for next year. So in Illinois, we've got an excellent slow spread program. There's a lot of work. If you guys are into fungus, there's a lot of work being done on Entomophaga maya as using it as kind of a natural occurring fungus that's going to help keep that population in check. When we have drought, you don't have the fungus, right? So little bit of a we're trying to figure out what is the best way. There has been some discussion as to whether or not we would start using this again in our natural areas. But what you see over here is this line, and the Department of Agriculture, along with the Forest Service, and the deep red, those are active zones. So in Illinois, we're just holding that line. Our folks in Iowa and Missouri, they're super happy. This line is 2050. So we've got a really effective slow spread program in place. And so we're really happy about that. Anybody in a treatment area? No? Okay. So really interesting. I think Oak Park is doing some really interesting management, as well as, we hopefully Dundee and Elgin will be putting some management in place. They have a very, very, very high active population as well. So that is, or it was. Sucking, I just put this up here. We can talk a little bit more about this, but that sucking, so that piercing mouth part, when a pest takes something out of that plant, what's going to happen? It's going to go through that insect, right? And that's going to create that sooty mold. So we're always interested to kind of figure out those aphids, like what are they doing? How are they impacting that plant? Spotted lanternfly, thankfully, is not found in Illinois yet. We've been talking about this since 2014. I will tell you that Illinois did not participate in the ecological assessment. So that means that there's no funding coming into the state for surveys, and that if we did have an establishment, we would be looking to train volunteers. We would be looking to all of you in order to help us start surveying for it. It's just the reality. Indiana didn't participate in the ecological assessment when they first came out. And Indiana's got 2 active populations right now, and so one in the I think it's northeast, and then one in the southeast as well. So Indiana is kind of, we're looking to our neighboring state to figure out, like, what are they doing? I'll be honest with you, the Department of Agriculture is thinking about spotted lanternfly a lot differently right now. So our specialty crop, our grape growers, our peach and commodities group, they are not responding. They're kind of like, meh, we know how to treat it. They look to the folks out east, and there are treatment plans. But I don't know about you, but when I hear what a grape grower is actually spraying 4 times a year pre-spotted lanternfly, and now they're spraying 10, 12, 14 times a year. Not a good thing. It's not a good thing for anybody. And so we're waiting cautiously to figure out what's going to happen. Spotted lanternfly will not kill a plant. It won't kill tree of heaven, it won't kill walnut, it will not kill grapes, hops, you name it. It won't kill it. What it will do is the population, if it's not found, and we don't get an early detection, that population just absolutely blows up. You don't just have one pest, you have 1,000. And it is amazing to see how the spotted lanternfly can actually aggregate, and it can really, truly increase exponentially, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So it will definitely impact people's ability to recreate. And so for the forest preserves, you are tasked with recreation. You are tasked with providing opportunities and land for people to get out and recreate. This is the biggest impact that this pest has, is the inability for people to go out and recreate. And so it is going to be a public service nightmare. And so we're putting in a lot of different early detection and identifying resources for consistent communication. I wish I could take a picture of all of you. You're looking at me like this. Man, she is so cheery with just a bunch of doom and gloom. Transportation pathways. This was a typical pathway. It came into Berks County. That's hardscape, right? So it comes in, what happens? It goes through an inspection. I would take a look at that myself and say, nah, it looks good. Move it on out, and sure enough, it was loaded with egg masses, moved next to its favorite preferred host, Tree of Heaven. Yours truly, yeah. How many have Tree of Heaven? Yeah? How many of you know what Tree of Heaven is? All right, cool. All right, good. So all of you should be like, well, you guys know what Tree of Heaven is. You should know that you have Tree of Heaven. Tree of Heaven is everywhere, really. So looking for egg masses. So we're trying to make sure that people are really aware of what egg masses look like. And so I have this. Take it, pass it along. There you go, it's got the life cycle. So the female is a lazy pest. She'll just run into something and then lay her eggs and then die. So short life for her, but telephone poles, utility, bridge, you name it. It's not looking specifically for a host tree. It is just looking to unload. And so that's what happens. Why is it a problem? Look at her. She lays her eggs, and then she puts, it's just like a car wash. She lays her eggs, that's the white material, and then she goes back over, puts a waxy coat, and then it's allowed to overwinter. It takes her about 30 minutes. So if you can think of rail cars being parked somewhere, think about trucks, think about your van, think about your water ski, your jet ski. You're out there, you're having dinner, whatever, you leave something, you're parked somewhere at a hotel for, overnight or whatever. I mean, it's possible that if you're in an infested area, you should always inspect your vehicle. It's the best thing you can possibly do. This is a little bit different than spongy moth. Spongy moth has kind of like almost like a cottony. This is more like sausages. So just knowing the difference between that. It's a generalist. It goes after hops, it goes after grapes, it goes after stone fruit, and it goes after Tree of Heaven. Look at that. That's typical. That's in Indiana. It's just that there's not one, there's thousands of them, right? So the impacts, that piercing mouth part, that honeydew, it doesn't go after the grapes, it goes after the petiole. And this is what it looks like. We've all seen it. People ask me why I like my job, and I'm like, I don't know. I must be like some twisted person, like, look at that. Come on, you guys came here for your CEUs, now you get this. Yeah. Everybody's looking forward to summer, aren't we? Yeah. No, I do that because, first of all, it's an actual image, right? And that is what happens. Gypsy moth's a huge defoliator. If you have gypsy moth around you and you hear it, and you just feel the frass all around you, you can't go outside, you can't sit outside. And if you're out trying to recreate, if you're out trying to, take a walk on the trail, it is almost next to impossible. So if you see chlorosis on walnut, nobody cares about Tree of Heaven, but boy, you talk about walnut, everybody's ears perks up. What? Walnut? Wait a minute. Illinois is the 4th largest producer of walnut. It is a high-value commodity product. It's also a very high-value wildlife. It's a big source for us, so we need to make sure that we're looking at our walnuts. If you see a walnut and it is flagging and it is July, you need to have that tree evaluated. Evaluate that tree when the temperatures get above 55 degrees, because spotted lanternfly, if it's on that tree, it's hopping down when it warms up. So we never go out and do surveys in the morning, always wait till the afternoon. Tree of Heaven is its preferred host. This is amazing. Host suitability, look at that. We did a survey, but you know what? It was like, meh. Do we have Tree of Heaven? We have 5, maybe 10 records in Illinois. And basically, our federal partners were like, meh, you got a lot of high-risk pathways, but you don't have that preferred host. Well, I'm here to tell you that just like that, yep, yours truly, there you go, bam. Every single county in Illinois has a positive record of Tree of Heaven. We lit up that state during COVID. Thank you very much. It's fun to go out and look for Tree of Heaven by yourself. We were like, all right, what am I doing today? Looking for Tree of Heaven. It's COVID. But yeah, no, I'm not making light of it. But we were able to get out and do some surveys during COVID, and it was very fortunate that we could do independent work and get out there and make sure that we were able to document this. That state, lit up in green, put us on the map. Put us on the map. We have other states, regionally and nationally, that are looking to Illinois to figure out what we did in order to get that kind of response. And so it's really the work of trained volunteers, APHIS staff, I mean, you name it. People went out and actually took the EDSMap Pro and documented the distribution. And this will help us get funding. This will help us get the resources that we need. This will help us have an early detection and a rapid response and get the right people in place. And I will be honest with you, you know what, we're gonna look for the same thing if we get Asian longhorn beetle back, right? We are gonna do the same thing. So, sorry, it must be on autoplay. Spotted lanternfly, we've got scraper cards. Those of you who know me, you know what's happening. I feel like Oprah. Here, you get a spotted lanternfly card. You get one. I am up. And if you have one, yes, welcome. Just like the giving tree. And if you already have one, please take more. So there you go. But lanternfly@illinois.edu. We want to make sure if you see anything suspicious, take a picture of it. Yeah. Then you can kill it. So make sure you got it. Boring insects, we all know insects are boring, but yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about two-line chestnut borer. I think that one of the things that is most important for all of us to realize is this. So you see this, you think probably it came from the nursery stock, nurseries, planted improperly, watering, pesticide, or insecticide, whatever. You know, that tree was just riddled with two-line chestnut borer. It was under stress and it was attacked. So those younger trees can be just as vulnerable as our older trees. So again, just making sure that you know about this. We don't want Asian longhorn beetle back in Illinois. We had an early detection. We had a rapid response in the late 1990s, which was great. Many of you probably already know about it. They're thinking about renaming Asian longhorn beetle. They want to call it Starry Night. I'm like, please, do not make it look nice. Don't make it sound nice. I don't want little kids coming like, don't kill Starry Night. I'm like, yeah. No, your parents want me to kill a Starry Night, that's for sure. So, looking at that, if you're not familiar with it, you need to be aware because Asian longhorn beetle, look at the host. I mean, maple, elm, birch, willow, horse chestnut. I mean, you name it. This is South Carolina. Look at that. Somebody's out hanging out, homeowners association, 60 miles west of the port of Charleston, and that's a swampy, hot mess, right? And so somebody was out, they were looking, and they saw a hatch, and saw Asian longhorn beetle. That's from Clemson University. That was out there. They were like, what is this? Took them a few steps to figure out what it was. They had to go to a couple different agencies, and so in Illinois, we don't want that to happen. But that swampy area is in a homeowners association. That swamp is filled with crocodiles. It's filled with snakes. It's filled with alligators. I mean, like, you name it. It's every bad thing. It's where interns go to die. It's like, and we wonder why they don't like arboriculture when they're like, No, your job is to get in a boat and climb up that tree and see if you can find the pest. They're like, I don't get paid that much. But anyway, it is very, very expensive. So Asian longhorn beetle is now a mechanical removal. We have to get equipment in there. It is so unbelievably expensive to do it. But they had to delimit where that pest actually was. And so you can start to see here, South Carolina, it's right there. You know, it's not moving anywhere. And they realized that that detection came most likely, had the same eDNA from Ohio. So in Ohio, they estimate it's a 12-year eradication. So they're in year like 8 or 9. That's mind-blowing. I mean, it's mind-blowing to think that you're going to spend that kind of time, that money. 70% of the trees that are left are on private property. Y'all know how difficult it is to work with public, right? So, I mean, private property, they don't want you coming in and taking down your tree. And it is a big challenge. So again, the only really management strategy for Asian longhorn beetle is removal. That's it. And they love maple, yeah.
Is there a native species of bug that could be mistaken for Asian longhorn beetle?
Some of our boyers, the borers, white tooth, white, is the white Sawyer beetle, I think. Usually I have a picture of it, but yeah, it's a native borer in Illinois, and I think it's like I'll get it for you. I think it's a Sawyer beetle, but okay. Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
So the only thing that's the unique identification, maybe I have it. Let's see. So this is where, so this banded antennae that you see right here, our native doesn't have it. See those white spots right here? The native in Illinois actually has, they're kind of like there's different sizes and they're more of a gray cast on the body. And then with the Asian longhorn beetle, there is no markings on the thorax, on the neck. And so that's a way to also distinguish it. The other thing is our native borers go after dead and dying trees. Our invasive borers go after our healthy trees. So again, that's something else for us to remember. And then the wood, I have that wood right here. If you've seen it, you know what, you'll know what it's like. But definitely take a look at this, pass it along. If you can take a number 2 pencil and you can stick it into an exit hole, it's kind of fun. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's kind of fun, isn't it? You need to have that tree evaluated, right? So the pest actually gets inside, right? The larval just hangs out inside, overwinters right in that heartwood. And so that's why we typically would not see it. All you're going to see is the tree have a dead and dying limb, and I'll show you an image of that right there. Right there. That dead and dying limb, I had a tree in our neighborhood that had one dead and dying limb, had big holes in it, and I watched that tree, reported it, we got somebody out to take a look at it. It didn't have Asian longhorn beetle, but I tell you what, it had all those signs right there. Just that one limb that's dead and dying. Asian longhorn beetle is a lazy pest. It's big, it's heavy, it doesn't want to fly, it doesn't want to go anywhere. It can hang out in a maple for a number of years, get everything it wants in order to complete its life cycle every single year. So again, looking at that, looking at the underside, basically, you know, that underside is typically where we start to see these holes. If you see any of this frass or any of these weeping going on the trunk, you need to make sure you take a look at it as well. Every month should be tree check month. Everybody gets a pencil. I'm going to start in the back. Hi, everybody. There you go. All right. Somebody had asked if there's a test. Actually, no, I'm giving you a diagnostic tool. So Michelle has all her stuff, but I have my stuff too. So it is kind of fun, actually. I go out and I train people, and I got a number 2 pencil, and I ask them, I'm like this. When they have that pencil in their hand, what are they looking for? They're looking for that perfect sized hole, right? And so this is really, I joke, it's a diagnostic tool, it's a number 2 pencil, but you need to make sure that when you have something and you're looking for a hole, we all know what woodpecker damage looks like, but if you can stick that pencil in, right about that, right there, you need to make sure that that tree is evaluated. Right. All right. Oh, cool, I've got some time, good. I wanted to give you an update. So that's just kind of a highlight of the pests that are going on. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. The Illinois Invasive Species Council has reconvened. That's been a number of years. Lydia Scott has led the charge from Chicago Region Trees Initiative. And I think it's really important for all of us to know about it. It's a volunteer board, so there's perfect transparency. We want to make sure that if something's going on, that you have a place to go. The Department of Natural Resources is the one, the agency that's actually supporting it. If you want to learn any information about the council, go to the DNR's website and put in Illinois Invasive Species Council, and you should be able to pull up. It'll have all of the information from terrestrial, pests and pathogens, wildlife, and aquatic. So we have all the committees, we have all the reports, we are a recommending body. We are not doing any legislation, so no worries about being, a lot of people worry that that it would turn into legislation, and it's not. It's really for us to get together. It's for us to have a well-coordinated effort on the invasive species front in order to address problems. We have great online resources. Look at those two cuties. So EdsMap, I love EdsMap. iNaturalist is great too. We have good resources. We have, and I think many of you already picked up some, but yes. So, I know, I wear this all the time. The reason why I wear it is that I put it on, and to be honest with you, it catches people's attention. I tell them about it. And after 30 minutes, yeah, and they're still looking at me at 30 minutes. Yeah, it's like, it's 3 seconds, 30 seconds, and 3 minutes. We've got some really good information on the back side of this. So if you want to, please feel free to take them. But if you need any more information, we got some really good stuff in the back, which is really helpful. Plant healthcare report in the Morton Arboretum. I'm going to read the plant healthcare report. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you don't have it, it's coming out. Sign up for it. This will tell you exactly what is going on. It'll tell you what's going on, like at the moment. They'll give you the indicator plant, they'll give you the species, they'll give you recommendations, they'll give you resources. This is the most valuable report that I have read, certainly for when we're talking about pests and diseases. We have the free management guide right here. This is a free resource, and I have tons of them, so if you want them, please take them. They are yours, so if you need more, let me know. And then if you see it reported, right? Department of Agriculture is the #1 place to go. If you call the Department of Agriculture, or you email them, or you leave a message, they have to respond to you. So they are the front line, right? So they're the ones that will, if we have a pest that gets established, they will look at it, they will evaluate it, they will declare it a nuisance, and if they do declare it a nuisance, then the federal partners will come in and they'll put a quarantine around it. And that's just the way it works. It's the way it works here in Illinois, right? And so going to the Department of Agriculture, going to myself, Michelle, Stephanie, all of us, we're always available for all of you here, right? So help our trees don't move firewood. Leave it on a high note. That is not me. However, if anybody's doing a DIY and they know I can get that costume, let me know, because I definitely would wear it. I definitely would wear it. You know me, I would do that. But I do, if anybody has any questions, I know we got just a few minutes or whatever. I am pretty upbeat, and I'm upbeat because I look at all of you, and I'm very hopeful that all of you will take the information that you've learned here. You'll be able to go back to your community. You'll be able to go and talk to people and spread this information and help improve the long-term survivability of our trees. Helping us get an early detection is very, very, very encouraging to me, and I hope that you all feel empowered, that you have the resources, you have the connections in order to make a difference, because we do need an early detection and we do need a rapid response in order to keep these new and sometimes reoccurring pests. So again, thank you very much. It's lovely to see all of you, and I'll be here. Yeah, that's it. Any questions? Any questions? Jasmine, coming up? Are you coming up? Yep. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions while she's loading?
Yeah, Tricia?
Yeah.
Do you have any information regarding spongy moth and controlled burns?
The question is, do I have any information on the impact of controlled burns on spongy moth? No, I don't anecdotally, but I can look it up. Theoretically, I think where you're going might be that if you did a controlled burn, that you might knock back that population.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I don't have that, I haven't come across anything.
Yeah.
One thing to think about though is the placement within the tree of those egg masses can be really, yeah.
And then, I mean, similar with spotted ministry fly, any information out east of that?
Yeah, no, I mean, control burns have not been identified as a management tool in order to combat that. Again, the same thing, because the egg masses are everywhere. They're not just on one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Is there just a quick short list of trees that you would suggest planting in a municipal setting, like park things that you find are more resistant to things like sponge?
So the question is, do I have a short list of trees that we would plant in municipal parkways in order to mitigate, some of the invasive species? The Chicago Region Trees Initiative has a really good list, and the website. So look at the Morton Arboretum's website for different types of tree species. There's a lot of different hybrids, right, that may be more resistant to apple scab or to Japanese beetle or whatnot. So there is a list depending on what you're looking for. So yes, but yeah, all I could say is plant a diverse suite of trees. Yes.
Illinois used to have these first detectors. Any hope of those coming back?
Yeah, I do. I'm hopeful that we might do it. So the question is, Illinois used to have a first detector program, and I used to be a part of that, so it was run through the extension. So hopefully that will come back, but right now we don't have anything, so it'll probably be 2024. But yeah, I'll definitely bring that message back because we want to do it. We want it to come back together again. I am a free resource. If you know of anybody that would be interested in a presentation, I'm happy to connect with you. That's my contact. Oh, you guys there? No, that's okay. Good. Well, thank you very much.